What it do, what it do, what it do. Salute to the Angry Black Man Media Squad. The man, Chief Sock G. Coming to y'all live on this Sunday, June 16th. On what they call Father's Day. I know a lot of y'all probably occupied, busy right now. Y'all out there barbecue, grilling. Your brother's unpacking the socks and tie that your woman got for you today. And it's one of those days that for a lot of brothers is for some brothers it could be a happy day, an exciting day. For others, it could be a somber day, depending on your situation and your circumstances. Um, and unfortunately, that's all that I've been seeing on the news and hearing in the media and on social media concerning June 16th, 2024 is it's just Father's Day. But unfortunately, there are things going on in this world that are much more important and much more larger in scale for us to be focusing our attention on and paying and discussing than Father's Day. As we sit here today on June 16th, 2024, today is actually the day after war was officially declared in the United States of America. What am I talking about? Yesterday, June 15th, 2024, current president of the United States, Joe Biden, and the United States House of Representatives passed a bill that effective immediately has reenacted the military draft in this country for all citizens who identify as male that are between the ages of uh, see some between the ages of 18 and 26. I'm trying to get it up here on the screen for y'all big to see. There we go. Hold on. Do that. Gotta do this. Y'all bear with me while I get this situated. Put it up here on the screen for y'all to take a look at. What I want to do with this live today and what we're going to discuss is exactly what this news that came out of the United States House of Representatives yesterday means for this country. I want to talk about how it is that we got here, some of the things that's been happening leading up to this point, and how all the signs and writing on the wall for months and months now has been indicating that America was at war at large. And so these steps that are being taken right now with the government, with the president, with the House of Representatives for America to officially pass a bill that automatically registers men 18 through 26 for a draft into the military means America is at a point where there's a necessity for a ramping up of the military power of this country. And America has not had the draft enacted for all male for male citizens between the ages of 18 and 16 since the days of the Vietnam War. So we're going all the way back 50 years now since the draft was a thing that men of young fighting age in this country had to be concerned about. And so what I want to talk about is what this move means historically, um, and how it is a clear indication that we're at war. So I'm just going to read a little bit of this article that came out yesterday. You see the title right there. House of Representatives passes defense bill automatically registering men 18 to 26 for the draft. The selective service is already mandatory for male U.S. citizens aged 18 through 24. Everybody understands. All right. It says Biden's woke social justice policies causing military recruitment crisis. You understand? Why is there a need for them to enact a draft? Because right now, with all things that's taking place in the government, and all of these liberal policies that's being passed, all of this propaganda in the media, um, robbing men of their, you know, freedom and ability to be masculine, to feel empowered, to be able to stand up and assert themselves as men, constantly having to capitulate, to the equality standards and the um, what they like to call the political correctness of the time that we're living in. Men have stopped doing the job that is required of men, which is in part standing up for their country, standing up for their nation, being proud to, join the military and to stand in the fight for the freedoms and the rights that this country is supposed to stand on. You understand? Now, of course, as I'm saying all of these things, I want to make it clear that the issues and the problems that America is facing at large as a country, I wish that it wasn't reflective of the problems that we have in our community as blacks in this country. The reality is, a lot of what is going on in our community is tied to what is happening in America at large. Because there's been such a push for black people to no longer identify themselves as anything outside of America or anything, to identify ourselves as something independent or separate from America. Anything that applies to this country on a large scale or on a social scale, it applies to black people. You know what I'm saying? I wish that this story was something that I could ignore. I could just look and say, "Oh man, America at war. They finna draft all their men to go fight, and they should be able to stand up and be proud to fight and be Americans and go help save their country." But the reality is, the propaganda and the lies that are being pushed on black people for so long in this country has caused us to identify ourselves as Americans. You understand? That all of our hopes and dreams and our ambitions are directly tied to the health and the well-being of America. Civil rights movement, the passing of the Civil Rights Voting Act, you understand, and all of the integration push of the 60s and the 70s has culminated in the current condition of black people in 2024 when where we don't see ourselves as being anything other than Americans. And because we don't see ourselves as being anything other than Americans, America at war for a lot of black people means that we are at war. When the reality is, America being at war should not be a problem for black people because we have always been at war in this country. The war that we have been fighting in this country goes all the way back to the days of our ancestors being slaves in this land, being forced against their will to have to serve and the work and the toil, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into the building and the success of this nation. In all of the major wars that have been fought in America, black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people have been on the front lines fighting for everything this country says it stands for. And what have we gotten as a result of it? Still, to this day, treatment of being less than second-class citizens. But because of the failures of leadership in the black community, Hispanic and Native Indian community, we've never seen a problem with us being Americans. And so right now, with the passing of this bill, the story that I'm reading that talks about how the military numbers are at an all-time low because of Joe Biden's liberal policies and all of his woke social justice policies, all of the normal ultra masculine, war hawking, proud to be an American, want to be in a militia, want to get their rifles and go shoot and fight and kill, you know what I'm saying, for the name of their country and the name of, all of their freedoms and their uh being the greatest nation in the world. America's at a place where if a war broke out right now, you're not gonna have a lot of those good old boys signing up to go and fight. These older Caucasian men who are from a previous generation where they took pride in fighting for America, took pride in standing for this country because of all of the LGBTQ and the Pride Month and the Me Too movement and the women's empowerment and the men shouldn't say this and you shouldn't discriminate. You shouldn't discriminate and you shouldn't have a preference on someone's sexual identity, and you shouldn't, be against your son growing up to be a homosexual or your daughter being a promiscuous woman. All of that propaganda from the government has caused real men who normally would be the ones ready to stand up and fight for this nation to say, I'm not sending my kids to go and fight in the military or join up to be a part of a military that allows, LGBTQ people to be in there fighting on the front lines. Or I'm not going to send my children to fight for a country with a government that I believe is corrupt, with a government that I don't trust. I'm not letting my kids go and fight for the military to go overseas and fight, for other for big corporations to be able to get rich and to be able to maximize their profits. A lot of people have become disillusioned with the lie and the dream of what America was supposed to be. A lot of people see America for what it actually is, and because of that, recruitment and enlistment for the military is at an all-time low. And what happens when enlistment is at an all-time low? America has to enact a draft, because enacting a draft is the only way they're going to be able to get people to have to fight. You understand? So I'm going to go ahead and pull the story back up. Hold on. Getting back to the story, keep reading on it. It says, let's keep it like this. Y'all bear with me. No, you can't read there. I got to do a small screen. All right, so boom, we'll keep reading. House of Representatives passed a measure on Friday automatically registering men aged 18 to 26 for selective service. It was part of the annual National Defense Authorization Act, which sets out the U.S. government's military and national security priorities over the next fiscal year, right? This year's NDAA authorizes $895.2 billion in military spending, a $9 billion increase from fiscal year 2024, right? It says, while it hasn't been invoked in over half a century, it's mandatory for all U.S. citizens to register for the Selective Service, also known as the military draft, when they turn 18. Failure to register is classified as a felony and comes with a host of legal challenges. If you fail to sign up for Selective Services, once you turn 18, you are a criminal in America. You are a felon in America. At the same time, while Donald Trump is running for president with 34 convicted felony counts on his name, the U.S. government has passed a bill that makes every man from the age of 18 to 26 a criminal if they don't sign up to be forced to join the military. Keep reading. Supporters of the amendment argue that it would cut down on bureaucratic red tape and help U.S. citizens avoid unnecessary legal issues, as well as cutting down on the taxpayer dollars going toward prosecuting those cases. It was led by Representative Chrissy Houlihan, a Democrat, and passed in the House Armed Services Committee's version of the NDAA in May. The NDAA advanced through the committee in an overwhelming 57-1 vote. Everybody understands? This is the woman, Chrissy Houlihan, that's responsible for this bill getting passed. Keep reading. By using available federal databases, the Selective Service Agency will be able to register all of the individuals required and thus help ensure that any future military draft is fair and equitable. Everybody understand? So now, in essence, what they have done, the National Defense Agency for the country has now gone on and said, we're going to take the power out of the hands of the people to register themselves for the Selective Service. We're going to now use, and again, this goes back to, man, I can't think of the whistleblower's name, but there was a cat that years ago was up in he made an uproar because he released confidential documents that showed that America had a national security agency program of monitoring and recording and spying on people's, daily daily interactions with technology. Meaning what? There's a National Security Administration that monitors your emails, monitors your phone calls, monitors all your tweets and your posts online. They're monitoring, what it is that you think about the government or what you have to say about this situation and that situation. And they have a whole database where they track and categorize people based off of the information they're able to gather by having access to your phone, your computer, your video games, your email, your voicemail, all of those things. Well, now they're taking it a step further, piggybacking off of that. Now they're saying once you turn 18, or if you're between the age of 18 and 26, we're going to automatically register you in the Selective Service Agency so that you're not an active felon. You're not actively committing a crime. Now, in theory, okay, that's cool. Y'all trying to help people avoid to be criminals. Y'all trying to go ahead and make sure everybody gets registered. The question you have to ask yourself is why now? Why is this such a big deal? Why does this even matter? Why is it important that all men are registered for the Selective Service Agency for a draft unless you know that this year is going to be a requirement to send people to the military? Why would there be a requirement to send people to the military? Because there's an active war that's going on, and we need soldiers that are trained and ready to go be on the battlefield. Yesterday's passing of that House of Representatives passing that defense bill to register all males in the country between the age of 18 and 26 was Congress declaring that America is at war. You turn on CNN, you turn on Fox News, you turn on the media, they're not talking about it though. They're not talking about America at war. So you have to ask yourself, well, who is America at war with? And why aren't they talking about it? Why aren't they discussing what's going on? Here's what's taking place. All right, so I'm going to take you through a list of events that have occurred over the last month that led to this announcement yesterday of the House of Representatives passing this bill. Another thing that I want to know that you need to take heed and pay attention to: since when does Congress meet to pass a bill on a Saturday? What existential crisis is taking place that Congress had to be convened on the weekend? On the Saturday before Father's Day, the United States House of Representatives had to get together and have a vote with 58 members, and 57 of them agreed that we need to go ahead and bring the draft back. What existential crisis is taking place that made this an absolute necessity to get done on a Saturday? Or did they do it on a Saturday so it would be something that flew under the radar? Did they do it on a Saturday so it would be something that wasn't, on the headlines of the newspaper the very next day? Did they do it on a Saturday before Father's Day, hoping that everybody would just forget about it, not pay attention, and go barbecue and eat and have a good time and pass out socks and ties and, thank you cards for fathers on this Sunday? For Congress to be convened on a Saturday to pass a bill that now makes it mandatory for any male between the age of 18 and 26 to show up for military duty if they're called on should be, you know, everything should be stopped right now. All the WNBA shouldn't have been playing their games or shouldn't have been watching Happy Father's Day, commercials. Everything should be talking about America's at war. So because they're not talking about it, we're talking about it here on Angry Black Man Media, and I'm gonna now walk you down the rabbit hole of what's been taking place leading us to this point right now. I'm not even gonna go very far into the past, right? At least not with the visuals I'm finna pull up. What I will say, well, no, let me go ahead and go into what's been going on these last few days, and then I'll bring it back to the bigger picture, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this just a little bit ago. Hold on, let me see something. Go ahead and take a look at. All right. And let me walk you through this right quick. Hold on. All right. Boom. Pull this up for y'all. Okay. Make sure ain't no commercial, no nonsense with this. Get this video queued up. So you have to understand that for the United States of America to be enacting the draft, right? It's a declaration of war. But in previous times in this country, when the draft has been enacted, the draft being enacted has always come on the heels of the country being attacked. And all of the previous instances of the draft being instituted or put into effect in America in the past, what preceded the draft has always been America being attacked. You go back to World War II, they used the draft in World War II because of what? America being bombed for Pearl Harbor. America got bombed at Pearl Harbor. Country's in an uproar. The Japanese attacked us. We got to go to war. Boom. All the boys get sent off to go fight. Right? A few years after after World War II, the dust settled. Now what? Now you get the rise of communism over there in the Eastern Europe with Russia and Germany and all them places. And then over here in the Western Hemisphere, You got America with their democracy, and that's in Western Europe. So you had a divide between the West and the East. Well, the big scare, of course, during the Cold War was that if communism spreads to other countries, if it spreads to Asia with the Chinese and the Koreans and the Japanese and the Cambodians, then it's going to be a threat to the Western powers, the European powers. So what does America do? America begins to fight proxy wars against Russia and the Soviets. You understand? What is a proxy war? A proxy war is there's two powers, America and Russia, that really are battling against each other for power and for authority and for influence over other countries. Those countries being attacked by America and by Russia, or America and Russia vying for power over these countries, they have a war amongst themselves, a civil war in a country with America back in one side and Russia back in another side. And as that country fights, it's really like America and Russia fight. All the wars that happened majorly in the world after World War II was due to the proxy war that America and Russia was fighting. After World War II, you had the Korean War. What happened in the Korean War? Korea got divided. America got men, put them in the military, sent them over there to fight again in Korea. You had a divide between North and South Korea. Same thing happened Korean War. Where else was they fighting in? Thailand. Over there in Thailand and the Philippines, you had battles between communism and democracy. Same thing took place in China. You had the rise of Mao Zedong and the Chinese Republic. You know what I'm saying? The Chinese Communist Republic Party. They took over China. Well, the next time that the draft got put into place was in Vietnam. What happened with Vietnam? Another proxy war between the communists and America. There was the sinking of the Gulf of Tonkin incident. The Gulf of Tonkin incident is what spearheaded America being thrown into the middle of the Vietnamese War. And because of all the wars that have been fought after World War II, like I talked about the war in the Philippines, the war in Korea, a lot of people in the country were disillusioned with the military, disillusioned with fighting for the government. What are we getting to go fight for this country when we come back and we second-class citizens and we belittled and demeaned and aren't treated with respect? So because morale was at an all-time low, there was a lot of friction between the people and the government. The Gulf of Tonkin incident gave the government a reason to reenact the draft. The draft has not been activated in this country since Vietnam. So what event has taken place here in 2024 that has made Congress deem it necessary to show up on a Saturday to pass a bill making it mandatory for all men between the age of 18 and 26 to be registered for selective service in the chance that the government calls on them to come and have to join the military? Well, here we go. Let's go back to a week ago, right? We'll go back to a week ago, and I ain't even going to go through the whole story. I'm just going to let this be seen on the screen, and I'll talk about it. All right? So let's go ahead and pull this up. Hold up. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Check this headline out. So I gotta move out the way. As we do these live streams, I'm gonna get a little bit faster with these transitions, so we ain't gotta waste so much time. Boom. The petrodollar deal was signed on June 8th, 1974, and expired on June 9th, 2024. What is the petrodollar deal? The petrodollar deal was an agreement that was made between the United States government and Western Europe, meaning France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, the Dutch, the Netherlands, all them countries in Western Europe. They made an agreement that the standard currency for all dealings being made with the governments in the Middle East that had oil, the standard for the currency exchange standard would be the United States dollar. You understand? So for the last 50 years, all oil purchased from Saudi Arabia had to be paid in US dollars. That meant if you was in Germany with the whatever the German currency is, you had to exchange your money for US dollar bills in order to be able to buy oil from the Saudi Arabians. If you was in France, you had to take all your francs and convert them to US dollars in order to buy oil from Saudi Arabia. If you was British, you had to take all of your pounds and convert them to US dollars in order to buy oil from the Saudi Arabians. And that is how Saudi Arabia has gotten so rich over these last 50 years, because all the people who had to come buy from them had to buy in US dollars. Now, June 9th, that deal came to an end. And what did Saudi Arabia do? Saudi Arabia decided not to re-sign or to extend the deal. On June 9th, the standard currency for purchasing Saudi Arabian oil was no longer the US dollar. So what happens in America if the US dollar is no longer the standard currency for purchasing oil from Saudi Arabia? What happens in America if the standard currency for purchasing oil from Saudi Arabia is no longer the US dollar? Then that means that the US dollar no longer is a necessity for all these other countries around the world. What happens if the US dollar is not necessary for all these countries around the world? Well, now America doesn't have a stranglehold on anybody. Now America loses leverage. Now America doesn't have power to issue out sanctions or power to make your economy fail and your economy fall if you don't do what it is that's acceptable to them for you to do. So that was the first strike. America realizing and witnessing that their financial power has been extremely diminished because of Saudi Arabia deciding to go another direction with their currency, ruffled a couple feathers, right? And this ending of this deal with Saudi Arabia came right off the heels of news being released that the United States of America was now actively engaged in the conflict in Ukraine with Russia, because it was found that the Ukrainians in their war with Russia had started using United States ballistic missiles to fire their weapons further into the heart of Russia to be able to defend themselves against the attack that they are experiencing out there. This story comes to us when was the story written? Let me go ahead and pull it up. This is on the BBC website. This story was released April 25th, 2024. So about 3 weeks ago. About 3 weeks ago, it says Ukraine has begun using longer range ballistic missiles against Russia that was secretly provided by the U.S. American officials have confirmed. So secretly, behind closed doors, under the table, not being announced in the public, being shunned from the media, America has been supporting Ukraine, giving them weapons, giving them guns, giving them munitions to fight Russia. Why would America do that? Because America is trying to suppress Russia's ability to advance themselves as a powerhouse in the world. Keep reading. The weapons were sent as part of a previous U.S. support package and arrived this month. Officials said they were not announced publicly to maintain Ukraine's operational security. They have already been used at least once to strike Russian targets in occupied Crimea. Further, U.S. aid is now heading to Kiev. More American weaponry is expected to be sent immediately after President Joe Biden signed off on Wednesday a new package deal of economic and military support of Ukraine worth $61 billion. Or 61, it got to be $61 billion. You understand? So America is funding Ukraine, has been funding Ukraine in this war for years now. But now it's come out to the extent at which America has been supporting Ukraine. They sending them missiles, which means what? America is directly involved in the fight going on over there in Ukraine. So what's the response to this? What does Russia do when they get news that America is actively helping Ukraine in their war? What does Russia do in response to America coming out and saying, yeah, we gave them guns, we gave them weapons, we helped them be able to fight against y'all, so what? Not America's response. Russia's response was, all right, y'all supporting our enemies? No sweat. We got something for y'all. Let me go ahead and pull this up. And it's not a coincidence that this video I'm about to play occurs, and then less than 3-4 days later, now it comes out that America is at war. I mean, America is enacting the draft to make sure that if their citizens are called on, they are ready, willing, and able to fight. Let's go ahead and read this. Let me go ahead and play this. Hold on. You know what? Hold up. This ain't even gonna work. I gotta get this. Hold on. I gotta get this out of here and in the head. There you go. The sound ain't gonna play if I don't. I should be good now. Boom. Let me go ahead and play this.
By Moscow.
Well, this is a very interesting thing, Omar, because, of course, as you can see, we're only 90 miles away from the Florida coast right here. So Key West is right here, and you've got Havana right there where it is. And this is where the Admiral Gorchkov and the Kazan actually have docked and are doing their port visit. So what this means is that this is actually a way for the Russians to, in essence, declare that they have a presence in the Western Hemisphere. And they're doing this in response to our moves with Ukraine, where we have given the Ukrainians the right to use our weapon systems, the weapon systems that we've built, that we've given them, to hit targets in Russia, on Russian soil, that are directly affecting the war in Ukraine.
Yeah. And I guess I think the biggest question that people have is obviously the proximity is very close. It might jump out as concerning, but what sort of capabilities do these ships actually have?
So let's take a look at this one. This is the Admiral Gorchkov. This is the ship. This is a frigate, and it has actually stealth technology. It was commissioned in 2018, and it is designed to carry a variety of different missiles. Among these are the Kalibr missile, which is basically a land attack cruise missile, although there are submarine and surface ship variants. Has a range of a little over 1,200 miles and a warhead that's about 1,100 or so pounds. And then the other possibility is the Zircon missile. This is a hypersonic missile. The other one was a...
The other one's a little older.
It's older, exactly. Whereas this one is much newer. This picture was taken in 2022, but this is the Admiral Gorchkov firing this particular missile, the Zircon missile, because they did that not only in this picture, but they also did it 2 years before that in a test run. So this is a hypersonic missile. It can travel at 9 times the speed of sound. So that's what the Admiral Gorchkov can do. Very similar things can happen with the Kazan. This is the submarine. It is capable of launching Kalibr missiles as well as Zircon missiles and several other types of missiles. It is designed, of course, to provide the Russians with naval stealth capabilities, and like all submarines, it is designed to be undetected until the very last moment that it is used in combat.
There you have it right there. Because America wanted to be all in the business of Ukraine and Russia, America been supporting them with their military efforts and supporting them in their fight against the Russian government. Russia said, okay, no sweat. I got something for y'all. Russia got ships down there in the Caribbean right now, capable of striking targets in the U.S. on U.S. soil and being able to, really bring some damage to the mainland, so to speak. And so 2-3 days after that, Congress gets together and says, you know what? Saudi Arabia no longer dealing in the dollar. These other nations is looking around and they thinking we weak. Russia's mad and want to, show some aggression. They got warships down there in the Caribbean right on our coast. You know what? We need to go ahead and just let it be known that we at war. And don't be confused. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this is taking place in an election year. Go back and look at all of the major military conflicts that America has been involved in since 9/11. And understand that it is not a coincidence that all of these took place during election year. Go all the way back to the war in Afghanistan. You go back to the war in Syria. You go back to the Arab Spring with the uprisings in Egypt. You go back to this Ukrainian war the first time around. All of these things are taking place in election year. Why? Because war is big business in this country. But you cannot have a country that can defend itself and can protect itself if the people don't want to fight for the government. And again, why don't the people want to fight for the government? because the government is preoccupied with all of these liberal agendas that are designed to erode away at the morality and the stability and the stability of families. You understand? And again, with all of that being said, it's not on the news, it's not on the media, there's nobody in the uproar. What does all of this mean for black people? Why is this even important? Why am I covering all of this? This matters because it is so necessary for black people to respect and acknowledge and understand that this war that America is going to be involved in has nothing to do with the war that you have been fighting against this country for the last 400 years. And there's going to be something that takes place. There's going to be an event. There's going to be some attack. There's going to be some incident that occurs in this country that is going to tug at the sensibilities and the heartstrings of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to make you want to fight for this country, to make you want to be a good citizen, to be a good America, to make you want to, be part of the, to prove that you deserve to be, dwell in the land of the free and the home of the brave and all the other propagandist bullshit that America constantly pushes on you. The reality, black people, is that this place is the land of our captivity, and these people that rule this place are our oppressors. The same military force that they asking you now to join your children up to be able to serve and to make sure that your sons between the ages of 18 and 26 are available for the draft. These are the same people whose police force shoot you down in the streets. The same people, when they get on the TV and the news and the media, they talk about you like we're less than human. Talk about us like we're monsters. Treat us like we're third-class citizens. You understand? We're in a time right now where the hypocrisy of America is being exposed on every level. Donald Trump just got convicted of 34 felonies and still he's running for president. How long has it been stated that if you're a felon in this country, you can't go and apply for certain jobs? You can't get hired to be in a prominent position because your felony conviction has proven that you're not fit to be in a position of leadership. You're not fit to be in a position to be able to maximize your potential as an earner in this country. But when it's a white man that does it, when it's a man that they value and they look at to be prominent, he can have 34 counts of he can have 34 convictions as a felon, and he can run for the president of the United States of America. With all of the liberal, with all the pride, LGBTQ nonsense is being pushed in the media, why is it that they enacting this draft now and it's only the men who got to volunteer for selective service? What about all the L's and the G's and the B's and the T's and the Q's? You understand? All these little girls that they giving hormones to and promoting to be strong and to be dominant and to be masculine. Why they ain't being asked to join up and fight in the service? And what about all of the boys that they've allowed to become soft and effeminate and to get weak? The boys that they've given hormone pills to make their penis not grow or make their voice not be strong or to make their scrotum not drop. Are they going to be included in the selective service? What if you're a man and you identify as a woman? Can you escape selective service? I thought there was more than one gender now. I thought that we lived in a, gender was a fluid, ever-changing thing. It's the hypocrisy of America is being exposed. And as the hypocrisy, listen, this was going to happen. Before our oppressor allows their children to be forced to fight for this government in a war overseas so that rich people could get richer, they're going to fight and take over their government first. America ain't even going to get a chance to have a major war with another country because as soon as America all out announces major war with another country, there's going to be all out war inside of America. Because these people, There's a large demographic of Caucasian people in this country that feel like they have been disrespected, that feel like they have been disenfranchised, that their rights and their capacity to be free and to be self-determinant is being walked all over. And that is why Donald Trump, for them, is a savior. Donald Trump, for them, is a beacon of hope and a beacon of light. Because what? Donald Trump don't play by the rules. Donald Trump don't follow what the government say. Donald Trump doesn't bend the knee and doesn't bow. He does things his way. And what your oppressor loves more than anything is to be rebellious against order. It's to be able to fight against the powers that be. And as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we should take a look at how our oppressor deals with adversity, how they deal with their rights being trampled over. When our oppressor feels like they're being violated, their response to the government is not to go march and to protest. It's not to saying we shall overcome and amazing grace. When our oppressor is challenged, when their rights are being violated, when their capacity and ability to be free is threatened, they pick up guns and they go shoot and kill and fight for their right to be free, fight for their right to be self-determinant. Why? Because in this country, they have a stake in whether or not, they're successful or they're unsuccessful in the war. What stake do you have if America is successful or unsuccessful in the war, black man? What do you have in stake if America loses a war to Russia or loses a war to China? What will change for you? Blacks in America today live very similar lives to the ones we did when we were slaves. What do I mean by that? Before somebody go off the rails and say I'm crazy, angry black man don't know what the hell he's talking about, think about the daily life of the average black person in America today. You wake up, whatever time you wake up, what you got to do? You got to go to work. You got to get dressed, get yourself together, and you got to go punch this clock. You got to show up at this job. Hell, you an independent business owner. You got your own business, right? So you think that don't apply to you. If you're an entrepreneur and you got your own business, what do? You get up in the morning, you get yourself together, and you go report to your job. You go report to your business where you're providing a service for whoever it is you're providing services to, right? So you get up in the morning, you got to go to work. 2024, that's the way you're living. Guess what? They was living the same way in 1724. You're black, you wake up, you get up, guess what you got to do? You got to go to work. You get to work, you do your job, whatever your job may be. In 1724, your job is you better pick that cotton, you better meet these quotas, you better get this job done. You're a bricklayer, you better lay them bricks, carry them bricks, get this thing built, you better meet your quota. Well, today, guess what? You work at a shipping, you work at a warehouse. You better get in there, you better knock them boxes over and get that stuff sorted and stacked and in the position they need to be by the time, you got to sign out. If you say you provide a service, what you do hair, you braid hair, you better get to that appointment. You better get that customer in there, get their hair done, get them their service provided, and get them out the door. Now, what do you get as a result of all your hard work, as a result of you showing up on time and doing your job, of meeting your quotas? You know what I'm saying? What do you get? You get your wages, you get paid, you get your money, right? 2024, you work your 40 hours a week, or you provide your service, you get paid for your service. You get money, right? Boom. Everybody getting money. We all getting paid. You get paid at the end of the week. It's Friday. You cash your check. You get paid every day. You providing your service. You driving for Uber, whatever you're doing, you get your money, right? Boom. Nothing different from 2024 for a black person than 1724. Now, most of you would say, our people you wasn't getting paid money back in 1724. You was a slave. You didn't get paid. You was working for free. Okay, boom. So in 1724, you working, doing the same type of job, same work you're doing in 2024, except the difference is in 2024, you get paid. In 1724, nigga, you a slave, shut up, get back in the hole after you work. But, okay, in 1724, after the slaves finished working, what did they do? They had to get fed, so they eating food, right? What food are they eating? Whatever food the master provides them. In many cases, we all know the history of black American cuisine. A lot of the foods that we were raised up eating, a result of what it is that we was adapted to being given by our oppressor during slavery, right? You ate whatever the hell was provided for you. Well, what's happens in 2024? Where do you get your food from if you're black in America? Do you go out there and you hunt? You go find you some deers and kill them. You get some chickens you growing in the backyard and you feeding them, chicken feed that you made and put together yourself. And then you got some cows out there in the farm that you got grazing on your ranch, and you wait till one gets of age, and then you decide that you're gonna take it out and divide the meat up for you and your family and for your community. No, that's not what we're doing. You get that money. Guess what you got to do? You got to take that money and you got to go pay for food in 2024. 1724, the food was just given to the slave. But in 1724, in 2024, you get paid, so now you can go buy your food. But your food is still coming from the same source in 2024 as it came from in 1724. Ain't nothing changed. That money you spending from your check to pay for groceries, who owns the groceries? The same slave master that pays you the money from that check you got at your job. The same people you went out and provided services for, you're giving the money away from those services in order for you to be able to eat. Talk about housing. Slaves, 1724. They ain't getting paid for the work that they do. So guess what? They can't afford to pay for no housing. So what housing do they have? Whatever was given to them by their slave master. They sleeping wherever the slave master allowed them to sleep. But in 2024, you'll say, well, you can go live anywhere you want to in America. You can, go and get you an apartment or a house anywhere. Except you can't, though. Depending on how much money you make, you can't afford to live in certain neighborhoods. Depending on what your credit score is, you don't qualify to be approved for an apartment in certain places. Depending on your, social economic bracket, you don't even know certain places exist. So you're forced to be able to live wherever you can afford to live. And oftentimes, for our people, the average black person in America, because of the amount of money that we're able to make, the housing that we're able to afford is housing that is in places that is undesirable, places where people do not choose to live. So many of our people are living below the poverty line that the places where we live are places that they low-income housing, need government subsidies. So guess what? You're living where your oppressor tells you can live. Give me a second, y'all. Hey, shalom, Lord Christ. Nah, I don't. I'm live right now. No sweat, shalom, Lord Christ. Everybody understands. So in 2024, you can live where you want to live, but you're still pigeonholed based on how much money you make. 1724, you're a slave. Where you living? You're living wherever the hell the slave master tells you that you're able to live. You a high-earning slave. You do good work. Slave master value you a lot. You might live in a nice little house, nice little shack for you and your family. You just an average field hand with no real skills and no real value to your oppressor. You'll live, it'll be 17 of y'all in a one-room shack. Housing still comes from your oppressor. You black in America, you can't just go out here and claim some land and start building a house on it. You gotta have to get zoning permits. You got to go to the homeowners association. You got to go through all of this government approval and bureaucratic red tape in order to be able to build a house. You can't just go and own land and just build whatever you want to build on your land. You black in America, you still living under the same conditions in 2024 as black people lived under in 1724. Where'd you get your clothes from when you was a slave in 1724? You got whatever clothes the slave master gave you. The slave master had, while some people was out there working in the field, the slave master had some Negroes making clothes. Make some clothes for these boys. I don't want them butt naked out there in that field with that cotton. They're not good working out in the field if they ain't got no shoes on their feet. The sun is hot out there, beaming down on their back. Give them a shirt to put on so that they don't get their skin burnt out there in that sun, so they can be more effective as workers. But in 2024, yeah, you work your job, your 40 hours, or you provide your service and get paid for it. And the money you get, what do you got to do with that money? You got to go and buy clothes. Where's the black clothing manufacturer in America? Where's the black cotton thread generator? We don't have infrastructure in this country as a people. Everything that we get comes from our oppressor, comes from our slave master. What do I mean by all of this? Why am I driving home this point? The point I'm making is, Who the hell cares who runs America? Who cares if America goes to war and loses to China? The Chinese gonna come over here and do what? They're gonna give you a job. Hey, go work, nigga. Go work. Here's how much you're gonna get paid, and when you get paid, here's what you can go buy. Here's what you can go eat. Here's how you can live. We don't have a stake in who wins the war between America and whatever other country. The only war that we need to be fighting is the war among ourselves to come together and be the people that we need to be in order for us to be free from our oppressors. The war for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man is not wherever the U.S. government wants to draft your son for him to go fight. The war for our people in this country is the war with ourselves to reclaim our identity, to reclaim our nationality, to reclaim our place in this earth. And that war is not one that's fought with guns. It's not one that's fought with tanks. It's not one that's fought with, cruise missiles. The war that we are fighting as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in this country is a war of morality. It's a war of righteousness. It's a war of living the lives that God requires us to live or suffering the consequences of not doing that. And regardless of who wins the war between America and whoever they are fighting at the time, the only victory that we can have is winning the battle that we're fighting amongst ourselves. If we can't unify, if we can't come together, if we can't stand up and be the people that God called us to be, then it doesn't matter who's in power, who's in control. We'll just be second-class citizens to whoever they are. But we're tired of being second-class citizens, if we're tired of being slaves, if we're tired of living the same lives in 2024 that we were living in 1724, then we got to make a change. We got to do something different. And the one thing that we haven't done in the 400 years that we've been oppressed in this country is obey the Most High. It's serve him. It's learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on the earth. And this war that's being fought right now, in all these countries all around the world, the war that's being fought right now, the number one threat to all of these countries and all of these nations and all of these world powers is us finding out the truth of who we are and allowing that to empower us to do what we need to do in order to be free. But somebody got to sound the alarm. Somebody got to tell our people what's going on, because for the government, the Congress, the House of Representatives to meet on a Saturday to come together to decide that going forward for the next year, all men in the country between the ages of 18 and 26 automatically have to be registered for selective service, the writing is on the wall. America is at war, and the war that America is fighting is World War III. And the end result of this war that America is fighting is going to be all of the prophecies and the warnings and the promises that God has recorded in the Bible concerning his people on the earth. And so I don't know what's coming down the pipeline. I don't know what America's cooking up in terms of a event that's going to galvanize the nation and recapture everybody's sense of nationalism and wanting to love and fight and die for the right to be free, or the right to determine your own government, or the right to have a capitalist society. The reality is, either way, if Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian men don't stand up and fight for their people and fight for the right for them to identify as the people of God and to come back to the culture and the way of life and the morality that is going to establish us as a nation that can sustain itself, hell, it don't even matter who the fuck is in power. Excuse my language. You understand? And as Blacks in America, I mean, we've been used as pawns by other nations for so long in this country and abroad. You go back and you look at World War II. You go back and during World War II, while the black people were fighting over there in Japan, the Japanese was telling Black people, Why are you fighting for America? Why are you fighting for a country that don't care about you? When Jesse Owens and them was over there running in the Olympics against the Nazis in Germany, the Germans was like, silly niggas, don't you know the America don't give a damn about you? Why are you running for America? Why are you proud to be an American? And we being silly, being, believing in the dream of America, man, we fought so hard against them Nazis, fought so hard against them Japans. You understand? Ran so hard in them Olympics, then for just to come back home and be treated like less than. Come back home after World War II and all of the grants and the GI Bill, black people reap none of those benefits. Korean War. My grandfather fought in the Korean War. What did he get for it? Nothing. He didn't get a land grant, didn't get access to property, didn't get a bank loan for being a retired military service member, the way he was able to buy a house and be able to keep something to pass down to his children when he died. You look at the wealth disparity in this country. The wealth disparity in this country exists because of World War II, because of the Korean War, because of the Vietnam War, and all of the subsidies and government grants and programs that was made available to the good old Caucasian men that went and fought. But those black men, those Hispanic men, those Native Indian men, they were left out to dry. They were ignored. They were disenfranchised. They were disrespected. Forget Vietnam. God damn, they went to Vietnam to fight the Vietnamese. The America they got us all high, got us all hooked on heroin, hooked on marijuana, completely decimated our community with their social services programs, with the welfare, and black people. We've been at war. We've been at war. Within the 80s came the war on drugs, cocaine, crack, 3 strikes law. You understand? God damn, the 90s came with the gang enforcement task force and all of these ways that we have been continuously fought against, continuously oppressed, continuously conquered, continuously beaten down. And now in the 2000s, since the 2000s with Barack Obama, with all of the LGBTQ and all the liberalism and the women's empowerment and to do whatever you do and forget morality and forget I'm at a loss for words. You understand? Forget political correctness. Forget morality. Forget the Bible. Forget God. Forget any type of standards. Everybody do what they want to do. Forget being a victim. Forget being, you weren't raped or molested. You were born gay. You were born a lesbian. Nobody, traumatized you. Nobody hurt you. Nobody forced you to do anything against your will. Embrace it. Love is love. You men, y'all too masculine. You too strong. You gotta get in touch with your feminine side. You women, you too soft. You too girly. You can go fight and box and play basketball and compete with the men. You can do it too. Now, there's more than one gender. The gender is fluid. You could be a he, or there's not just a he and a her. It's a she. It's not just he, her, and she, him. It's we and they and them and Z and Zi and all these different rules and these laws and these terms you got to learn and these flags that represent all these different orientations and this spectrum of life and love and genders. But when it comes time for war, if you're born with a penis, you're between 18 and 26, you better sign up or you're going to jail. You're a felon. You're a prison. You're going to go to prison. One or two things going to happen in this country in the next few months. Either there's going to be a major military mess up, meaning there's going to be an attack in America. There'll be some type of terrorist event, some type of, something going to happen in one of these military bases across the world. America's going to be attacked in some kind of way, either inside of America or out there in the world. And they're going to come and they're going to say, we need to respond. We need to fight back. We need to stand up straight. We need to lace up our bootstraps. We need to get back to that good old defending America, right? That's what's going to happen. There's going to be a military attack in America, or they are going to start criminalizing. They're going to find some way to make it possible to arrest all the masculine, strong, aggressive boys and men between the ages of 14 and 22. And those boys who get arrested and locked up and get charged with felony crimes, they're going to be offered the opportunity to go and join up for the military. You a criminal? I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm coming to y'all live from Memphis, Tennessee. It's young boys right now in this city that are being convicted of violent crimes and they are not going to prison. Being convicted of violent crimes and they are being released, no bail, back out into the streets until they get time to go face, their court date comes. And what do these young boys go do? They go right back out in the street and they go do more crime. The crime that's being done in Memphis, is it random? Is it out of nowhere? Nah. These boys being paid to go commit crimes. They're being paid to go carjack, paid to go break into houses, paid to go rob and steal and kill because you're going to go to jail and they're going to send you back out, bro. You ain't got to do nothing. I'll give you 10 stacks. Go knock this cat off or go steal this car. Go rob this place. They ain't even going to lock you up. It's a win-win. You get caught by the cops, you go to jail, you can come back home in 2 days. That's what's taking place in Memphis, Tennessee. Why would the government make it possible to condition young boys to have the expectation that they could commit crime and come back on the streets? Oh, because they know that pretty soon, when you get convicted of a crime, you're not going back out on the streets. You're going to the military. You're going to go fight in this war we got. Are you violent? You angry? Your daddy wasn't there. Your mama raised you. You're emotional. You quick to react and be violent. I know just the place for you, angry young black man. Go to the military. You'll learn discipline. You'll learn honor. You'll learn integrity. You'll learn to die for a country that doesn't give a damn about you or your people and just wants to use your violence and your aggression so that they can keep being rich while you keep being poor. And why isn't anybody talking about this? Where's your pastor? Where's your mayors? Where are your congressmen? Why is nobody talking about the clear and obvious ploy that is about to be enacted to rob us of another generation of black men? Like, man, it's disheartening. It's I can't even. It ain't anger, right? It's really pity. It's really pity. You know what I'm saying? It's sad that in 2024, America's just doing the same thing America has always done. And black people are going to be the victims of it because we're always the victims. But you would think after 60 years, after 100 years, after 120 years, somebody with some power and some authority and with some influence would care enough to say something. But have the self-awareness to see, oh, the same thing they did to us, 20 years ago, they're doing it again. The same way they robbed us of that. I was having a conversation earlier about the gold and the promised generation, right? Promised generation of blacks in this country was the generation that was born in the 60s. Now, what do I mean by that? When I say the promised generation, right? You go back to slavery in America, literal actual slavery with us being in chains and not able to have property and any of those things, right? Say actual literal slavery in America ended in 1865 with the Emancipation Proclamation, right? 1865. So let's say you were black and you were born in 1865. You were born at a time when black people were freed, right? So you grew up in a post-slavery society where black people were now being able to, move and function in the country and have a little bit of a taste of what it means to be free or to be equal or be a citizen in this country, right? You born in 1865. By the time you're 30 years old in 1895, what have black people done over those 30 years? Oh man, you look around, there's black colleges and black universities, institutions. There's black neighborhoods springing up. There's black infrastructure popping off. Because we were the slaves in this country, we were the ones with all the skills and all the talents. By the time you were 30, and if you're born in 1865, it's 1895, and we're entering in the age of black people being empowered in this country. So the children that are born, again, at the age of 30 in 1895, what have you begin to do? You begun to start a family. You had children. Maybe you started having children at 21, 22, who knows, right? But in 1895, you're being born around that time. You're the children of the generation of people who just got freed from slavery. 30 years from that, you go to 1925. What is the condition of black people in America in 1925? That's Black Wall Street. That's the Harlem Renaissance. That's black people being fully empowered because we're 60 years removed from being freed from slavery. We're 30 years removed from realizing our power and our ability and our skill to be able to be needed and appreciated and necessary in this country. By 1925, we're in the midst of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution in America was amazingly beneficial for black people. Why? Because we were the ones that had the skills. We were the ones that were the hard workers. We were the ones that knew what it took to make a dollar, right? Now we're getting in these, we're educated in black universities and colleges. Not only are we physical hard workers, now we have the mental capacity. Now we're studying the laws. We're learning how the government works. We're learning finance, and we're learning nation building. We're learning how to deal with other societies and other cultures. We learn how to speak all these different languages. That you're born, and if you're 30 in 1925, man, you're building a legacy. So then there's children that started to be born around that time. My grandfather was born in 1930. 1930, my grandfather was born. And my grandfather was born in Washington, D.C., to a father who was a factory worker and his wife, you know what I'm saying, who also worked to pave a way for her children. My grandfather was one of three boys, right? My grandfather's father, as he was a young boy growing up, he dealt with alcoholism and things like that. But my grandfather and my great-grandfather and great-grandmother taught my father the meaning of being a hard-working man, of determining your own destiny, of not letting anybody place limitations on you, of not letting anybody tell you what your value and your worth was. And my grandfather, who was born in 1930, by the time he was 30 years old in 1960 and he began to have children, my grandfather had fought in the Korean War. My grandfather was a traveling musician. My grandfather knew how to hustle and make money. He knew how to work hard. He was a boxer. And guess what he did? He got money in 1960. You understand? And my grandfather, at the age of 30, when he started having children, by the time his children were 30, in 1990, man, my grandfather had raised 7 children who were aware of the power of their blackness and the greatness of what it meant to be God's people, and the greatness of not allowing for this white society to place limitations on you or to belittle you or to demean you or to make your blackness be some evil thing. My grandfather was a man that spoke 7 different languages. I don't know how he learned to speak 7 different. I don't know how he learned to speak 7 different languages, but I know that he knew it was important to be able to speak 7 different languages. Why? Because you're black in a country where all these other nations and races of people are coming and getting a leg up. My grandfather was a theologian. He went and traveled to Israel and studied the Bible and was a great orator. You understand? My grandfather was a poet, wrote poetry, talked about liberation. You know what I'm saying? Wrote a book about the African American plight in this country and fighting against the government and fighting to self-identify, fighting to have something to cling to make you special and to make you great. That was what was born in 1930 in this country, because from the people who were 90 years removed from being slaves. Those children of my mother's generation that my grandfather gave birth to in the 1960s, those children born in 1925, whose children were being born in the early 60s, that generation from 1925, those are your revolutionaries. Those were all of your pro-black, anti-white movements in America. That was a generation born in the 1920s and 1930s. And being in the truth today, we can look at the failings of all of the religious groups that have risen up in this country, all of the Black Power organizations that have risen up in this country. But we have to acknowledge and pay attention to the generation that spawned all of them. That generation of forward thinking, of denying our oppressors of religion, denying our oppressors identity and ideology, and denying our oppressors, accepting that our oppressors' way of life was the way of life. Them black people in them 1920s, they were the ones that came up with your black liberation movement. They were the ones that came up with your, Nation of Islam. They were the ones that came up with your Moorish Science Temple. They were the ones that came up with your Marcus Garvey, UNIA movement, right? And even though we can look back at the failings of those brothers and those institutions and say, well, this is where they got it wrong, this is where they effed up, you have to acknowledge that they were fighting to be free, fighting to not just be a second-class citizen, fighting to not just be a slave under the white man. And that generation of brothers and sisters that was being born in those 1960s, that was learning about Black power, and I was learning about say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, and I was learning about being an Afro-American and not just being what the white man called you to be, that watched our people be drugged through the mud of the Korean War and the Vietnam War, and that were revolutionary minded. America knew that this generation of niggas that's born in these 60s, if we don't do something, we are going to lose our country. We're going to lose our stranglehold over these people. They are going to rebel and revolt, and they are going to be free, and we are going to be damned. That generation of the 1960s had to be destroyed, had to be knocked off course. They had to be limited in their capacity to grow and to expand and to be all powerful. And that's where your crack cocaine, your heroin, your crack, your 3 strikes law, your war on drugs, your gangs, the influx of gangs and guns and violence, your gangster music, all of that was weaponized to stop a great generation of black people from finally realizing their power to come together, unify, and get free. And now, those of us born in those 80s and 90s, born in the midst of the crack, born in the midst of the war on drugs, born in the midst of the heroin, we are the survivors of that generation that was destroyed, and we know who the devil is. We know who the enemy is. We know who our oppressor is. And we know what it means to fight. You understand? We know what it means to rebel. We know what it means not to be limited. We know what it means not to just be okay being a second-class citizen. The problem is that revolutionary spirit is alive and well in a lot of our brothers and sisters all across this planet. But they don't know which way is the right way to rebel. They're being taught and being led and being influenced on what that rebellion looks like from all these other sources. The internet is, and what am I talking about? Who the revolutionaries? If you're a black man in America in 2024 that says, I don't believe in marriage, I don't want to put a ring on a woman's finger and sign a marriage contract so that she can divorce me and take half, you're a revolutionary. Because you see marriage as a goofy fucking institution that makes a man a goddamn slave to a woman. You're a rebellion, brother. You ain't gonna marry no woman, put a ring on the finger. You're a rebel. You're a revolutionary. You don't go to church no more. You don't go to church. Church is stupid. I grew up in the church. My grandmama made me go to church all the time, but nobody know it. And I read that Bible, man, by myself, and could nobody answer none of them questions, man. I read the Bible. I want to know why God killing all these people in this Old Testament. Man, that church couldn't answer no questions. Them folks just want your 10%. They just want your money, man. I don't go to no church no more. Guess what? You are a rebel. You a revolutionary because you see that church is goofy and full of bullshit. Problem is, then you go run to Islam. You go look at some rapper who went to jail and he became Muslim, and you think, well, shit, it ain't church. You go be a Muslim and be in Islam, but guess what? Your life don't change being a Muslim or being in Islam. So you know what? You should rebel against that too. But you a revolutionary if you don't go to church, man. You a rebel. You black and you ain't a Christian. You don't go to church, man. You something wrong with you. You doing it different. Oh, you a black man and you believe in having more than one woman? You polyamorous? You're polygamous? You're a revolutionary. You're a black man and you think I'm gonna have me 2 women, 3 women, 3 incomes. We could be able to build something. We could acquire some wealth. You are a revolutionary. You're a black man with a podcast sitting around talking about how these women is they want a high value man. They want a man to pay this bill and pay that bill. I ain't paying all your bills. I ain't, you're gonna go 50-50. Guess what? You a revolutionary. You're a black man that want a woman to go 50-50 because you see that women getting money. Why the fuck should this? She go to work all day and make money, and I'm supposed to pay all the bills, woman? So what you doing with your money? You just do whatever. Nah, hell nah. You better give me some of that money. Give me that money and we do what we do with it together. You a revolutionary, brother. You talk like that. You're going to make a woman have to pay her way? You're a revolutionary. We living in a revolutionary generation. Y'all ain't going to like this, but if you're gay, you gay and black, you mean to say you okay being you gay? You're a man and you do what gay men do? You a revolutionary. But not all being a revolutionary doesn't mean that you're winning or you're doing nothing good. I'm just saying that we are living in the time where the spirit of revolution is alive and well among our people. Which means what? Brothers, we are in a prime time position to be the forebearers on what real revolution looks like. Real revolution isn't being gay. Real revolution isn't saying, I ain't getting no wedding ring because it's bad. It's bad to, enter in that contract with a woman. Real revolution ain't, I'm going to have me 3-4 women. We all going to live together and put our money together and buy land and property. That's not real revolution. Real revolution is committing yourself to the righteous standard of morality and integrity and honor and dignity that God requires of his people. And if you don't know what that means, if it sounds crazy what it is that I'm saying, then you should go and search and find what it is I'm talking about. Because the only revolution that's worth fighting for Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people in America and around the world is the revolution that is going to cause you to become the type of man and the type of woman that the Most High requires us to be in order for us to be free from all oppressors. Whether you under America or you under the Chinese, who the hell cares? You're under somebody else. If you're under the Americans or you're under the Russians, who the hell cares? You're under somebody else. If you're under the United States government or you're under the Communist Republic of China, who the hell cares? You're a second-class citizen. If your landlord or the man who pays you your money is white, or if he's Arab, or if he's African, or if he's Asian, what the hell does it matter? You're still dependent on another man. If you want to be free, if you want to have real power, if we want to have our own government, our own infrastructure, our own military, if we want to be self-determinant of how we're moving in this earth and how we're viewed in this by the world at large, then the only revolution that is available to us is a spiritual revolution. It's a righteous revolution. It's a revolution that has us realize that the greatness we once had as a people, the key to that greatness is being who it is that God chose us to be, called us to be, living the way he called us to be, setting the standard for the rest of the planet that this is what a righteous society looks like. This is what a righteous nation looks like. This is what people who are in tune with God, this is how they live their lives. And that is what is accessible to us right now in this time, in this generation, if we'll stand up. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to see any of our Black boys have to go and fight and die for this country. I don't want to see any Black boys have to give their blood, sweat, and tears in an American military uniform to fight any battle anywhere. The only way we're going to be able to save our sons, save our daughters, save ourselves is if we do what is required of us by the Most High. If you don't know what that is, then I got an answer for you. I got some information that I want to give you. Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. Since 1969, we have been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians the truth. The truth about everything. Most importantly, the truth about the Bible. And what is the truth? The truth is that the most important, greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth, identified in the Bible as the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. And in 2024, there is nothing more important than for us to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is. And the only place that I know that you're going to be able to gain that knowledge, to gain that understanding, to gain that wisdom is in the ISUPK. If you want to find where we're operating in the city near you, if you want to find out how you can get in contact with us to gain this information, to be empowered in righteousness, to stand for the Most High and against the oppression of these people ruling over us, go on Google, go on YouTube, go on Facebook, go on TikTok, type in ISUPK in the city where you live. If you're in Memphis, go to ISUPK Memphis, YouTube, Facebook, Google. You in Indianapolis, ISUPK Indianapolis. You in Kalamazoo, ISUPK Kalamazoo. If you're in Britain, ISUPK Britain, ISUPK United Kingdom. If you're in Brazil, ISUPK Brazil. You just go and you look up ISUPK. You find that website, go to ISUPK.com. On that website, there's a phone number. On the YouTube page, there's a message box. On the Facebook, there's a message box. Hit us up. Contact us. Ask, what can I do as a black man, black woman, Hispanic man, Hispanic woman, Native Indian man, Native Indian woman to protect my children from the war that America is currently engaged in? And then you'll get all the answers you need. Maybe that's not the question you have. Maybe your question is, well, what can I do to change my life? What can I do to be better? What can I do to gain some information or some understanding about, this truth that you say you speak? And we'll give you all the information you need. But we're living in a time where we're going to have to fight, black people, regardless. We're going to keep fighting the fight we've been fighting and losing, or we're going to fight this new fight for America and lose there. Or we can choose to fight for ourselves. We can choose to fight for something greater. We can choose to fight a battle that'll actually result in some progress, some prosperity, some, manifesting, actual power. But the decision is ours, man. I needed to do this live stream because, again, I pity all of those of our people who are just asleep, who are ignorant, who just don't know nothing. And if I was still among them, I would want for somebody to warn me. I would want for somebody to say something. And I know that with this platform, I have the opportunity to be able to reach a lot of brothers and sisters. And my hope and my prayer is that this live stream will reach somebody and they'll hear something and it'll inspire them to do something about it. Don't just be a victim your whole life, man. Don't just sit around and just let things happen to you. And that's what's going on right now. The government on a Saturday before Father's Day in the middle of Pride Month just passed a bill for the men in this country between the ages of 18 and 26 to have to go and fight and die. And I don't want our people to be counted among that. But hey, maybe I'm just an angry black man. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Chief Sock G, Angry Black Man Media. Salute to y'all. I'm out.